Hey there guys, my name's Jacob Jabut, and last year I started my very own business in hopes of one day reaching financial freedom. I have learned a ton since I started, and I wanted to create this channel as a way to share with you guys what I've learned, but also follow me along my journey. On the road to financial freedom. Alrighty, what is going on guys? The past couple weeks here have been I've been really focusing on heavily advertising. Today is March 15th. So really now has been the time to really advertise. I put some door stickers out there for garbage, Facebook advertisements, and working on my website. Something that just came in that I'm really excited about. I'm doing a direct mail campaign. Probably can't really see this because it's going to be reversed, but I've got all my services on there. On the back, I've got a QR code where you scan it, and it takes you right to the estimate scheduling page on my website. My girlfriend's making fun of me, and but that's really what I've been focusing on. The biggest thing too that I've noticed that I'm actually going to make this video about is I've been focusing a lot on commercial bids, at least in like March. I live in upstate New York, so March is, we're still getting snow, but April is the wet season. It's really like spring, mid-April is really like actual springtime. And I've noticed that in March is when commercial contracts go up for, that's when they want bids, because they're gonna have, it takes a while to actually fill out or write up a contract and get multiple people to do bids. I've also noticed that a lot of like out-of-state property owners will be looking for people, whether they have a summer camp or just a rental property or something that they own, and they're out of town. But for the most part, I've had a couple residential estimates, but most of them, that's pretty rare. Those are people that are like really on top of their stuff, or like first-time homeowners that are excited. And April will be the time for residential, but I've been really focusing on getting commercial bids, talking to businesses, I'm in upstate New York, so March is like still snow. It's like the final month of snow before spring. So it's really early. That's the best time, depending on where you are. A month before actual springtime, or even like 2 months before, is when you should start reaching out to business owners. Cold call and just blast advertising and whatnot. But I've noticed what works best is actually knowing them. Or like, I just got my truck and I got a loan through a bank, and when I went there, they asked what I did for work and stuff, and I told them, and I was planning on asking them if they wanted an estimate, but I never did. They ended up asking me. So I kind of realized you can leverage that. Places that you go often, like even if you go to get a coffee at one place often, ask them if they need anything. Or places where you've established connections with people, those are the best places. And I found I've had the highest closing ratio on stuff. The other thing that I will mention about commercial contracts is a contract, writing up a contract. When I'm doing estimates for residential, I will usually just send them a price. Like, it'll be like a spring cleanup, I'll send them a price. And if they want mowing, I'll send them a price. But with commercial, what I will do is I will be very specific about what it is that I am providing. What I'll do, actually, I'm just gonna jump on my computer and I'll break down one of the proposals that I actually wrote up for one of these places. Alrighty guys, so this is one that I recently wrote up here. If you guys are interested too, I can make a video on like how I made this, like putting the logo and stuff. It's just a matter of like merging some cells, and you can actually get rid of the background. It's pretty easy once you know how to do it. It took me a little while because I just played around in it. I had some time this winter. Anyways, just really tried to make it as professional as I can. And that's another thing, being able to add value in just like little ways. Like I always try and be like very prompt with my customers, and like when they had reached out and said they wanted a quote, I tried to set up a time with them for someone to walk the property as soon as possible. When I show up to the property, I'm wearing professional clothing, I have everything that I need. I have a clipboard where I write down all of my measurements, and I really try and pay attention to detail as much as what is necessary. I don't just ask questions, but anything that I can think of that'll be necessary, that stuff I'll think of in advance too. And then once I actually get all my measurements, I put it through my formula, come up with the price, and then now with what you see here is all of the different things. So like I'll ask them what they're looking for. They wanted mowing, once a month they wanted a cleanup. They also had a bunch of different hedges and shrubs, which was like, as you can see, the biggest price factor here. And they also wanted mulching. So I just broke all those things down separately so that they can, either pick and choose, or they can see exactly what costs what. And then just as detailed as possible, because for one, it looks more professional, but for two, you don't want to have anything that's ambiguous. I mean, with like residential jobs, for the most part, it's pretty straightforward, and like if something goes wrong, you can kind of like adjust it. But for something like this, when you get into these big contracts and these big commercial spaces, you really don't want to go there the first time and realize either A, you underbid this, or B, they're looking for something completely different or more services than what you had originally planned for, and now you're losing money, because now you're talking on a bigger scale, and you're going to be losing a lot of money, and you're going to be losing money all throughout the year, and you're probably not going to give a good service. So I find breaking everything down to its finest detail, that way there's absolutely no questions. You know exactly what's expected. You show up, you get it done. And if they want to make any changes, you can, it's an extra cost, because you can reference the contract and say, hey, this isn't in the contract. I would love to add this service, but we're going to have to be added at an extra cost. So it protects them and it protects you. Now, as you can see, I broke it down here, frequency, mowing as needed, typically weekly. When you get into like August and July up here, it tends to dry out, and you might mow every other week. Last year, though, we, for some reason, got rain in July and August, so we actually were mowing more in July and August than we were in some of the earlier months. So what I did is approximately 22 visits. So this price covers up to 22 visits, and I put it covers up to 22 because if for some reason we get a lot of rain and they want it cut twice a week because it's growing really fast, I have myself covered saying up to 22 visits. So after that, it'll cost more. This was a condo association, as you can see. So they had some fenced in areas in the back, and I was very clear on whether or not that was privately maintained by each member, or if I was doing it. They said I was doing it, so I included that in there. They said they wanted edging, blowing off the grass on, the walkways. And then I break down the price here, the total price. The weeding / cleanup, they wanted once-a-month visits. And then I put, large weeds will be pulled from beds and common areas. I put large weeds in there because, if you have somebody there that's really nitpicky and they expect you to get every tiny, tiny, tiny little weed, that's really not going to be good. If they want you to do that, okay, but they're going to have to understand that's an extra price. Also clarify all leaves, sticks, trash, and other debris will be removed. Parking lots and walkways will be blown off. One visit per month at $250 a visit. At 6 visits equals $1,500. Pruning. Now you can see here, this is a large price. They had a ton of hedges. I mean, the one that they had in the back, they wanted, to be lowered 6 inches, which you can see in here. And I was very clear about what, all the hedge and shrubs. There's 2 trees that they wanted pruned that they told me in the email. I made sure I clarified those. There's other bigger trees on the property. We don't get into pruning those bigger trees. So, make sure I'm clarifying what trees we are trimming. You can get in trouble with that. They look at the contract and they say, oh, you're trimming all trees on the property. Why aren't you, cutting out the dead branches on this oak tree? And it's like, we don't have the equipment or do that. And now you're stuck either trying to do it and, sacrificing safety, or you're subcontracting it and losing money. And then I also said no pruning in fenced in areas or common areas. A lot of people had their own plants And I don't know everything about every little plants. And, you know, in these condos associations, you get these like, you know, older ladies or people that are really into all these different types of plants. And I don't know, they take special care. I don't know. I don't want to be in charge of all those plants. And if I am, it's going to be at an additional cost. So I clarified all that. It was a ton of trimming. I put it through my formulas. This was the price. And then mulching, all beds will be replenished with mulch on agreed date. Removal of old mulch not included. I did give them a separate price, but they did not want the old mulch removed. Sometimes you do want to remove the old mulch if there's a lot built up and people just keep piling and piling and piling it on top. But yeah, so this is the total price. I really, especially with these condos associations, people can be very tricky. You know, it's an HOA. So there's a bunch of different people living in the same place. So some people might want things done different ways than other people. And if you have 5 people telling you 5 different ways to do the same job, you're going to run into some trouble. This contract is really what's going to protect you from that. But the other nice thing about this, you know, it breaks down the total, and then I also give them an option to pay it monthly. So it'd be $1,500 a month for 6 months. One last thing before I end this video here. The reason that I did not get this job, it was actually they retained the people from last year. They did say in the email, the lady mentioned that I was very professional, prompt, and had very, you know, good attention to detail, and she was very impressed. But unfortunately, that wasn't enough. The other thing to take note of is she was the property manager's like executive assistant. Not that she couldn't get things done, but you're not talking to the decision maker. The president of the HOA was the one that had the final say. So what happens is the person they had last year was actually $4,000 roughly less than I was. Now I have no idea. I mean, in order for me to go down that much, I mean, to charge $1,000 for all the hedges that they have there and shrubs, or, you know, take some out of here. I mean, I could come down a little bit, sure, but nowhere near $4,000. I mean, they can have that job all day. I'm not going that low. But the thing that I was getting at here is, well, for one, especially with these contracts, you do not want to be finding yourself bidding lower and lower, because I'm going to have this for 6 months. If I'm losing money, that is really going to suck, and that's going to take energy out of other jobs. I'm going to find myself wanting to get more money out of other jobs to make up for this job, and it's just not good. You don't want to do that. And the other thing to take away from this is I was not talking to somebody that was a decision maker. As professional as I was and as impressed as they were not the one. I was impressing the person that was going to tell the person how impressive I was, which sometimes works, but you really, at the end of the day, want to be talking to the decision maker. You know, you want to be impressing the person that's going to actually make that decision. You know, would my professionalism be $4,000 worth? I don't know. I think that other person is just they're just price gouging. So who knows? Either they're going to do a bad job, or not all the jobs included, or I don't know, they're going to be okay with not making a whole lot of money, especially with the price increases that we've seen recently. But anyways, you know, over time, as people start to see the business name and, you know, they see us out doing quality work, and we really just build up that solid foundation and reputation and don't really budge on our price, who knows? In the next few years, we might come back, put another bid in, maybe a little bit less, or probably be the same price in a few years, you know, considering inflation. But who knows? Maybe they'll say, hey, we've seen those guys around. They really do a quality job. They do have a higher price tag, but it's going to be a no headache service, and they're going to pay real good attention to detail. Everything's going to look great. We're not going to have to worry about it. So that's my take on bidding on commercial contracts. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Like the video, subscribe, and I will see you guys next week.